kicks the pain we can't hush, and then they find us. We're the real tough guys, breaking down barriers. We aim for the skies, into the octagon like a warrior I stand. Train blows, taking hits as I command. The art of combat, I'm ready to go. Submission, knockout, that's how I flow. Unleashing the fury like an untamed beast, locked in a cage where strength is released. Striking precision, grappling with my golden octagon. The stage we ignite. Unleashing the fury like an untamed beast, locked in a cage where strength is released. Striking precision, grappling like a golden octagon. The stage we ignite.
And we are live. Welcome to the Golden Octagon MMA Podcast with your hosts, Matt and D Rose.
And what's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Golden Octagon MMA Podcast, the last one of 2025. So, last time you'll be seeing my ugly face and D Rose's beautiful face over here until almost the end of the month next month. So 6 weeks off. You will not see me and D Rose here on the podcast, but hey, it's been a fun year. And you know, if you're just tuning in just to see what we're talking about on today's show, we are going to recap UFC Vegas 112 from this past weekend. We'll, as always, go over the news, fight announcements that UFC or everyone else has put out. And then we'll end out the show with our end of year awards for our best fighter of the year, or our best fight of the year, event of the year, fighter of the year, knockout of the year, and submission of the year. So you can look forward to those as well. Unfortunately, no fight picks this weekend because no UFC fights until January, D Rose. But with that being said, how you been over the past week or so, my guy?
Hey, things have been great, and you know we were able to get our Christmas shopping done this past week. So you know, got the stresses of all that stuff done, and you know, it's just crazy to think the holidays are so close. But you know, starting to get a little bit more into that festive spirit, and you know, kind of I went upstairs and did some gift wrapping, and let's just say that is not my forte. So you know, let's just stick to selling cars and you know, cooking food and stuff like that. Stuff that I'm pretty solid at. But overall, everything's been great.
Yeah, man, you're a lot just it's easier to just put a bow on a car than it is to wrap a present, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like I end up getting into like an arm wrestling match with the paper, and then it just ends up kind of getting like not necessarily balled up, but underneath. You know, the top looks fine, but the bottom's kind of the bottom's struggling. It's got a little bit extra tape than you might want on there, but hey, it's the thought that counts.
Yeah, man, that's right. And at the end of the day, it just gets torn off. Like, what are we doing taking our time to wrap these? Like, just put it in the Walmart bag. Good enough.
Yeah, exactly. The whole point of it is to get ripped off. So who cares about the presentation if what's underneath is what it's really all about?
Indeed, man, indeed. So let's get into the chat real quick, and then we'll get into the show. We got Antoine here. Last Antoine in chat sesh of the year. You better get all your questions out. We got plenty. We got plenty to talk about, Antoine. So, any questions you got, go ahead and drop them in there because we're going to get to it. Anyway, also, D-Rose, got to get a reaction to Phillip Rivers' comeback at 44. We got a little bit of everything tonight, fight news, reviews, and some awards. And Austin says, good evening. D-Rose, you want to talk to him about Phillip Rivers as I get the show ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, Phillip Rivers really looked like a guy who was 44 years old. Let's just say that. He had excessive dad bod going on. I can attest to a little bit of that. But I don't drink the beer necessarily, but maybe I like to munch on some cookies and stuff every now and then. Let's just say that. So, but no, I can attest to the dad bod. But it was the one step back that he had when he kind of lost his footing. Like his foot, like genuinely, like slid. Like it's not like he just like gave out or something like that. But it was when he went to get back up and run. Like it looked so awful. But he hung in there. I mean, for him to have not played in 5 years and to come back, he looked as well as he could. But that's not saying much, to be honest.
Yeah, and Antoine, man, you almost had it last night. Spurs are ahead of schedule. Yeah, but I wish I would have had back the money that I bet on them to win, Antoine. So that's sad, but fun game. They were winning until the fourth quarter and decided to not play anymore after that. Shouldn't be surprised that he's a future Hall of Famer. He was really good. Was he really good in San Diego?
Yeah, no, he was good. No, he was a very good quarterback. He was one of those, I would say, kind of like him and Drew Brees. The funny thing enough, like he was actually in San Diego to replace Drew Brees, but I would say they were a lot of like a similar type player. Super smart, might not have the best arm strength or best throwing motion or whatever, but they were just such smart guys, tough competitors. And the thing that people loved about Phil Rivers the most is that he always bumped his gums, even though he never cussed. So people loved his method of trash talk. But yeah, he was very good.
And Austin saying Seahawks are going to Super Bowl this year. Well, Austin, I wish I could agree with you, but they almost lost to Phillip Rivers and the Colts last week. so let's not get ahead of ourselves there. Like that.
Yeah,
that was a close game. They still got to
get through the Rams.
Yeah, that was a close game.
Through the Rams.
I have no idea. Antoine. I'm gonna let D-Rose answer
that. In certain years, you could say, because there were certain years where he led the NFL in passing yards or passing touchdowns. So yeah, you could say it was probably a mix of Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and then you could throw in a Philip Rivers, Drew Brees. Maybe in that mix.
All right, man. So let's get into the show, man. First topic of today, we got our UFC Vegas 112 recap. So the card this past weekend, main event was Manel Kape versus Brandon Royval. I don't want to say that went how I thought it was going to, but man, we're just like it. We all want Brandon Royval to win. He's a fun fighter, but man, he just gets hit. And he leaves so much openings, and Manel Kape just has that power to put him out. And that's pretty much what happened. What's your thoughts on, I guess, 3 minutes and 18 seconds of the fight that we did see?
Yeah, I mean, I did think that the fight might have went on a little bit longer than what had happened. I thought that Brandon Royval, with his toughness, we've seen him drop before. It's not like he hasn't been dropped, but it was just the fact that he got, put out the way he did. And, when I initially watched the fight, because I'll just be completely honest, the start time of the card was absolute BS. And I was absolutely exhausted on Saturday. So after, I think it was the Costa and Charrier fight, I fell asleep, and then I had to come back and watch it the next morning. But I didn't look at anything before I watched it, so I didn't have all the tainted thoughts going into it. But I initially thought it was a little bit of early stoppage. When they first stopped the fight, I was like, man, Royval got up pretty quick, and he was responsive. He's walking around, but yeah, you go back on the replay, and when Kape lands that shot, like Royval's there. And then, like, there's like 2 or 3 punches that Kape lands where, like, yeah, Royval's stiff. So it's super tough to put Royval out like that. So just super great performance from Kape, and I think you could potentially say that put him front in line to maybe get a title shot.
That's fair, man. Talking about someone else that got put out, but this was for the first time ever, man. Giga got put out second round by a spinning back fist into ground and pound elbows by Kevin Vallejos, dude. I knew, Giga's tough, man. And we're like, does Kevin Vallejos have the power to put Giga out? I didn't think so. I went Kevin Vallejos via decision, but I was kind of flirting back and forth with do I pick round 3 knockout? Does it go to decision? I was like, let me get it to decision. He ended up not even taking that long, dude. Kevin Vallejos was just being slow, being patient, setting Giga up, and then closed him out against the fence and then hit him with a fucking spinning back fist, finish him off with the elbows. What's your thoughts on the co-main event this past weekend?
Yeah, now that was a surprise. I'm not going to lie. I was very surprised with the way that Vallejos was able to put Giga out. Now, I did think early on in the fight, like it did look like Vallejos is having a little bit of an issue trying to close that distance. Giga is good at keeping guys at that kicking range because everybody just kept saying, well, all he's got to do is just get inside. Like, dude, Giga's got good footwork, and he's done this for a little bit, so he's not necessarily as easy to you could just jump in on him. And, you just do what you want to him. But, that's why Vallejos, I think he ended up throwing that spinning back fist because not out of desperation, but just something to mix it up because he was having a rough time. It was just a perfect shot that he had called for and landed perfectly. And, I haven't seen Giga rock like that. And, dude, those elbows on the ground were just absolutely vicious. I mean, just perfectly placed, just slapping upside the side of the head. Giga was, clearly out. No controversies to the stoppage whatsoever. And dude, a really good win for Vallejos, who was trying to regard himself as the legend killer. And I'll say that call out that he had afterwards was, Cub Swanson, like, why are we going for Cub Swanson here? He's clearly retired, hasn't fought in a while. And, he basically said something exciting would have to bring me back. And, no offense to Kevin Vallejos, but why is that going to excite Cub Swanson? So yeah, he can forget that. But I mean, shit, at this point, he's going to be, top 15. So he needs to be, trying to get bigger aspirations than fighting Cub Swanson. He can potentially work his way to a title shot in the next few fights.
I agree, man. Moving on down, dude. We had Cesare Oleksichuk taking on Cesar Almeida, dude. This shit sucked, dude. We just had Oleksichuk just wrestling Cesar Almeida all 3 rounds. Anything there you want to talk about?
No. This is the fight that I actually fell asleep. I fell asleep during.
That's fair, dude. Round 1. Moving on down. We had round 1 knockout head kick for Ezekiel Costa over Morgan Charrier. I don't think Morgan Charrier had ever been knocked out, or at least not in the UFC. Fucking Ezekiel Costa comes out there, smokes him with a head kick, dude. Like, the fight only lasted a minute and 14 seconds, so we really didn't see a whole lot. Just head kick knockout, man. What's your thoughts here?
Dude, and the crazy part is, like, Melky Costa, ever since he's been on this run since the Steve Garcia fight, like, has one fight gone to a decision? Like,
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, dude, he's out here like smoking fools, like, and on the feet too, like, because that was always my biggest thing when he was fighting up at lightweight. I still remember that fight against Thiago Moises, and dude, and I know Thiago Moises is no slouch. I understand that, but he is more regarded as a grappler than a striker, and Thiago Moises is kind of lumping Melky Costa up at 155. So I was like, man, his striking just hasn't came along quite yet because we know that he's a pretty good grappler. But man, his those kicks were just lightning fast. He was crushing Morgan Charrier to the body, and that's what ended up happening was that he went the block down to the body. Kick was coming up high, and by the time he was starting to try to get that guard up, just that thunderous kick landed upside the dome. And dude, what a run for Melky Costa. 4-0 in 2025. So yeah, he is absolutely rolling right now. And super hot prospect who, in my opinion, deserves a top 15 guy next.
That's fair, man. Moving on down. We had another bullshit one. Kennedy and Nzechukwu versus Marcus Buchecha, dude. That ends up going to a draw, man. Any thoughts on this fight, dude?
Just the fact that the only reason why I felt any sort of confidence in picking Kennedy and Nzechukwu was nothing in credit to Kennedy and Nzechukwu. It's just that Marcus Buchecha is that sheep. Like, no disrespect to him because he's obviously, he could kick my butt any day, sure. But man, if it's a jiu-jitsu match and they're wearing gis and stuff, he's going to smoke any of these dudes in here. The problem is it's not UFC 1 or UFC 2, and you're not wrestling or you're not doing jiu-jitsu with your gi on. And, these guys are, they're going to be able to defend themselves. A lot of times when Buchecha is going for the position, Kennedy is literally just landing elbows on his thigh until he's like, oh shit, like that kind of hurts. I had to switch position now. And it's like he just has no recollection that he's in a fight and that he thinks he's in a jiu-jitsu match almost. And if I'm being honest, I wouldn't be surprised if he was cut from the UFC after this fight.
Yeah, this same as you said, dude. It's not that I was picking Marcus Buchecha because he was good. I just think Kennedy's a bad fighter, dude. He wasn't good at light heavyweight. Thought that if he just gained some fat, moves up to heavyweight, he's fucking going to be better. He's just fat Kennedy now. Like he's still ass, dude. Like I don't know how much longer he's going to be in the UFC.
That is true. I would not be surprised if both fighters ended up getting pink papers, but dude, especially Buchecha, just the lose the two fights that, and it's the fact that he had a lot of hype coming in. Like Kennedy didn't have all this hype. Like he's just trying to get like a reinvention versus like Marcus Buchecha, this however many time world champion jiu-jitsu guy, and he's coming over in heavyweight where heavyweight doesn't have any good grapplers and this and that, and he's getting out grappled.
He can't get it to the ground.
Yeah, and if he can, he doesn't know how to hold position because all Kennedy had to do was land a couple elbows to his thigh and he would give up position. I mean, that's it. It's crazy.
Yeah. Moving on down, dude. We had Bobby King Green taking on Lance Gibson, dude. This was another one that's like, dude, during this fight, I was like, can you please just knock him the fuck out? Like, Bobby Green was like, I don't know why I enjoy Kevin Holland, but I hate Tim Elliott and Bobby Green, dude, because it's not like they're doing much different, but just like fucking Bobby Green's like fucking walking in there like he's the Terminator and ain't shit going to stop him. And then he starts fucking backing up once dude landing shots. It's like, you can't be the Terminator and also back up, Bobby. What are you doing, man? And just talking shit the whole way, dude. I was just hoping so much that he would just get head kicked, but he didn't. Bobby Green wins via decision there. Split decision, because it did go to split decision. I was praying for that robbery. What's your thoughts here, man?
Yeah. As long as you could acknowledge that would have been a robbery, because there was no other way that should have been ruled for
judges are fans of the Terminator stance. That is what it is.
Yeah. Or it sounded like one might have been a fan opposed to it instead of a fan for it.
Because, I hated the Terminator growing up. Lose.
Yeah, bro, terrible movie. Because I thought Bobby Green, he looked good. It was a good bounce back win for him, and he was able to get a little bit of a swagger back, and he had kind of fallen on hard times. He hadn't really got a win except for it was the Jim Miller fight in 2024. So I mean,
it had been a little bit.
Yeah, so I think that was at UFC 300, but yeah, he's went a little bit without getting a win. So good to see him back in the win column. Against and I don't want to say a hot prospect coming in, but a guy who who kind of made a little bit of noise coming into the UFC. But good win for Bobby Green nonetheless.
That's fair, dude. Moving on down, we have Yaroslav Amosov submitting Neil Magny in round number 1. Yeah, this is always a risk when it comes to a Neil Magny fight. It's either he loses in the first round or his opponent gets drug into the Magnyverse, and we see Magny 3-year decision, dude. But we saw round 1 submission for Yaroslav Amosov. I really didn't know a ton about this guy. I knew, former Bellator / PFL fighter, was the champion, but until we see him in the UFC, we really don't know. He beat Neil Magny. I don't know if I learned anything yet. I think UFC will probably match him up with someone in the top 10 next, and he's probably going to lose. What's your thoughts here?
I will say it's all going to depend, because I do think that, stylistically, if he gets someone, someone that he could take down, if he gets like a Leon Edwards, maybe even a Bilal. He can maybe, as Chubbs making the guest appearance. Chubbs is in the house. Dun, 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 dun. Let's go. He's like, I'm the star of the show. He's like, y'all ain't talking. He's like, y'all ain't talking about shit.
We got a Chubbs here.
He's like, y'all ain't talking about nothing.
Oh my goodness.
Hell yeah.
Just bothering me. Just standing here.
He's as interested in the podcast as everybody else is.
Right, dude.
But I'm not gonna lie. I can't even remember where I was going with that point. I can't remember what we were quite talking about. So,
it's all right. It's all right. Let's just move down. We got Joe Anderson Brito, Isaac Thompson. Joe Anderson Brito wins via decision. I bet Joe Anderson Brito by sub. He only tried one the whole fight, but it ended up being like Isaac Thompson showing that he's young and tough. Could be a good fighter in the future. But it was almost like he was controlling where the fight happened. Like it's like Isaac Thompson was like, we're striking now. And then like Joe Anderson Brito was like, all right, let's just swing hooks. And then like Isaac Thompson was like, I want to grapple now. And then like fucking Joe Anderson Brito was like, I oblige. Let's just grapple. It was like they weren't mixing the fight up as a fight. It was like they were either striking or they were grappling. There was really no scrambles, no strikes to grappling or anything like that. But Joe Anderson Brito wins via decision. What's your thoughts here?
Yeah, that's a good point. That the way that the fight played out, that it was basically in one phase. Nothing was mixed in very well. But I thought it was a competitive fight, and I did think that
you saw like down here in the corner for just a second.
Well, no, dude, and because I also bet Brito by sub, so I was getting a little excited there when he had that rear naked choke in. I was getting pumped up, but he was trying to get the back a couple different times. Unfortunately, was not able to secure the choke or get any of those submissions. But I did think that Brito won the fight. I think a couple people thought that Thompson might have been able to have stolen that third round, but to me, I thought Brito won rounds 2 and 3, and I thought he won the fight overall. So good bounce back win for Brito and a win that he kind of needed.
That's fair, dude. Moving on down, we had Dana White's toe sucker, Stephen Asplin, boxing up Sean Sharf, dude. Man, that cut on his face was so nasty. That dude was leaking, dude. But this one did lose me a bunch of my bets because I had this going under a round and a half, man. And this finished at 3 minutes and 49 seconds of round number 2. So didn't win that one. Ended up going over, but Sean Sharf pretty much just gets his face just boxed up for 2 rounds, dude. Stephen Asplin wins via second round knockout. What's your thoughts here, man?
Yeah, Stephen Asplin, he might not be the most athletic guy or anything like that, but
he's got the body of a goddess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, I was actually chatting like with Dave, like fucking during this fight. Like he's like, why is this fight named Concrete? He's the farthest thing from concrete. And like my response to Dave was, well, when you pour it, it's like wet and it's all that comes out. So maybe you should change the name to like Wet Concrete. Stephen Asplin.
Dude, he looks like someone who works with wet concrete. Yeah, that's about it. He he might have the body shape of your regular construction worker, but no, he's an absolute scrapper. He doesn't have the most power, but at heavyweight, kind of reminds me a little bit of style wise, not personality wise or anything, but you remember Carlos Felipe. He kind of had like pretty decent boxing, pretty decent cardio, not a lot of power, but was just willing to go in there and scrap and could put the pressure on with his boxing and have pretty quick hands. Asplin's the same way. And I think a lot of people can get behind the dude because people, can kind of relate to his story a little bit, how he was able to, get his life right, get back in shape. And, his dad was the former MMA fighter who never made it to the UFC. And, how he said, he's kind of living out his dad's dream and everything. And, he owes everything to his family. He seems like a guy who I think a lot of people are going to be able to get behind as long as he can keep putting together good performances like this past week.
That's fair, dude. So moving on down, Luana Santos beats Melissa Croden, dude. She just hit her with the head and arm throw 2 out of the 3 rounds, and we got Maserat Conejo this past weekend watching that fight. So that was sad to watch. Pat Guilherme wins via decision against Alan Fry. Alan Fry's tough as all hell, but Pat Guilherme looks like RoboCop with hair and a beard. So solid striking as well. Moving on down, dude. Jamie Lynn Horth knocks out Teresa Bleda in round number 1, dude. Didn't see that coming. I did pick Jamie Lynn Horth to win the fight. Didn't think she was going to knock her out in the first round, though. But that's all the fights from this past weekend. Anything from these last few that you would like to talk about, Duros?
No, because I actually did not watch the. I caught the highlight of the Jamie Lynn Horth and Bleda fight, but the other 2 I didn't actually get a chance to watch because I was still at work and we were doing some Christmas shopping this past week. But no, I think we're good.
That's fair, man.
Oh well, I will say you did seem like you were very fired up for Jamie Lynn Horth. I was like, man, he must have had some type of money on her or something like that because you was pretty fired up.
Well, I knew so it had to do with the pick champ first because it ended up being put in even though like we weren't trying to, but it was the first fight on the card and it was a dog, and it was a good way to like start all my parlays that end up, losing on the Melissa Croden fight. So I was like fired up. I was like, hell yeah. And then yeah, man, just sad, dude. So let's talk about pick champ real quick as we pull up the Eat the Beans. So this one last week was a special one, D-Rose. It was almost like we knew something was going to happen because not only do we have one backup, we had 2 backups, and by God, we didn't need them, dude. We did need them this past weekend. So at UFC Vegas 112, we had 6 different picks on the card, 3 of which was for the pick champ, right? Which was Jillian Robertson versus Amanda Lemos, Marcus Buchecha versus Kennedy, and Morgan Charrier versus fucking Melky Costa. So right there, 2 of the 3 is out because Lemos versus Robertson falls out because Amanda Lemos has herpes on her mouth this past weekend. So that fight's off. Kennedy versus Marcus Buchecha goes to a draw. So it was almost like we knew it last week. We had not only 1, but 2 backups to throw in there, one of which being Teresa Bleda versus Jamie Lynn Horth. We thought that one might fall out as well. So we threw in a second backup, but we end up using that one. Our second backup was Cesar Almeida versus Cesare Alexachuk, which was ass. I lost not only the pick champ there, but I lost my time and my sanity watching that fight as well, dude. That shit was so ass. So coming down to it, the 3 fights that mattered this past weekend were Jamie Lynn Horth versus Teresa Bleda, where I went Jamie Lynn Horth and you went Teresa Bleda. 1 up for me. The second one that matters was Morgan Charrier versus Melky Costa, in which I went Morgan Charrier and you went Melky Costa. So that's tied 2-2 right there. And the last one that mattered, our second backup that we added was Cesar Almeida versus Cesare Alexachuk, where I went Cesar Almeida and you went Alexachuk, which means you win pick champ this week. On backup number 2, D-Rose, you win pick champ on backup 2, which means I, for the last time of 2025, will be eating these damn beans. So let me play Bean Boozled. You guys didn't get it last week. We drawed last week, so here we go. For the last time of 2025, I'm gonna get a bag right quick because I ain't got one.
And it don't stop. Hey, get it. Hey, it's the big bop. Hey, and it don't stop. Watch it. Watch Matt drop, pop, lock, and drop. With hey, really
I don't know what you're gonna do, guys. Fuck, dude. I guess
Watch
I'm
the pop,
gonna
lock.
Fuck.
It's the bean box. Hey, it's the
Man.
bean box. Yeah, yeah. What you want to get?
Here we go.
It's the
Here we
bean
go.
box.
Here we
You want, hey, be like,
All right, I've got a few holes in it. I'll aim for not the holes. Fuck, dog. Here we go. All right, let me eat these beans and then we'll get to the questions. I know you guys have been at it. They're stuck to the bottom, D-Rose. Here we go. Bean number one is that's got blue on it. Maybe Tutti Frutti. Be Tutti Frutti and not Stinky Socks. Tutti Frutti and not
dead
Stinky
fish.
Socks.
Fulfill your wish. It's the bean box.
It's not Stinky Socks, but doesn't taste good.
Oh,
Right.
come on.
Bean number two.
Yeah.
Oh, this one's all white and mashed. Ugh.
I was about to say, what did they like melt?
Yeah, dude, they moved from Virginia to Texas. I think this might be buttered popcorn or rotten egg. Oh god, I don't want this.
Yeah, they look melted.
This one's bad either way.
They've seen better days.
Please don't be rotten egg. Ah.
Man, it don't
Ah.
stop. Hey. Where's
That's not good.
Yeah, where's Dave when you need him? See, if it was me and I had different colored beans like that, I'd be getting accused of
You said different colored beans? You want my beans to be the same color?
They looked
That one was fucking stuck to the bottom. Like as you can see, there's two up top there. Like they're fucking just stuck to the box. So probably some of the thing got torn off of it. Little flat spots, yeah. Oh, I'm glad that's over, dude.
That's crazy.
That's work. Oh, dude, that's nasty. That was a rotten egg.
And it don't stop.
It's stopping right now. That's the last time for 2025.
Will it be
All right.
ever?
All
Stay
right,
tuned to
let's
find
see.
out.
There we go. Let's see. All right, let's get into these chats, D-Rose. Does Manel or Tatsuru get the title shot? Both are coming off great wins. I have to go Taira because I almost feel like that's what UFC's pushing toward. They want the young contenders in the flyweight division. I think so. I don't know, but if Manel got the shot, I wouldn't hate it. How about you, D-Rose?
So I have been a notorious Manel Cop hater. So this is, this is coming from a guy who is a known, and not to hate on his skills, but to say that his character could be a little bit annoying from time to time. I think this is his shot. I think with the win, like the way he was able to put out Royval, like dudes just don't put out Royval like that. And that's Royval, also a dude who has beaten Tatsuro Taira. Tatsuro Taira's time will come. And I don't think there would be anything wrong with if you did a matchup with maybe and I know Horiguchi fighting Amir Abazi next, and we can get into that. But I was thinking maybe you could do Horiguchi versus Taira before that match got made, and then you could say the winner of that. But I think the way Cop put it together, I think he's in the driver's seat right now for the title shot. Plus, I think Cop with his personality, hey, I take your diapers. I take your diapers. I think he can kind of sell the fight a little bit as far as on the mic and with his style.
That's fair, man. Shout out Jeff hitting a plus. What is it? 500? Is it 53,000 or plus
Damn.
530,000? Shout out you. 500. I mean 5,000 times your money, I believe, or no, 530 times your money, I believe. Shout out you. I thought Kennedy took this, but whatever. Fair enough. Chubbs. How Chubbs is? He will be. Let's see. He will be 14 in March, so he's 13 right now. Thompson, his good, yeah. No better way to end the beans but the beans. No better way to end the year but the beans. Right next grade. It's not good, Antoine. I think Van versus Tyler might be the youngest title fight of all time. 24 versus 25. It has to be. It has to be, man. All right, D-Rose. So, with that being said, let's get into our UFC news and fight announcements. I don't have anything pulled up right now. Wasn't ready. Let's see here. I'm sure
I
there's
can
a few
just
things.
talk about the one that we had just mentioned. Did we talk about Albazi and Horiguchi last week?
No.
Yeah. I mean that's a fight I think, for Horiguchi that, Amir Albazi was he number 5, 6 in the division right now. I think that's a fight that could get Horiguchi up into the top of the division, because to me that's a pretty winnable fight for Horiguchi. I think Amir Albazi, he's okay, but he kind of got a little bit of a robbery win against Kai Kara France and then didn't fight for a little bit, which is why he's got that top spot. But he's very vulnerable, and I think Horiguchi can get up into the top 5 and maybe get a title fight after his next fight.
That's fair, dude. So the only ones that I can see. Oh, there we go. There we go. Got a few. Let me share my screen. Share screen. What's up, man? So up first here, we'll see if this fight happens. What do you think, D-Rose? We got Bruno Hulk Ferreira taking on Paulo Costa March 7th. You think that fight happens?
Here's why I think it happens. Is because I think it's actually a favorable matchup for Paulo Costa. And because I think Bruno Ferreira can fight a little bit similar to Paulo Costa, but he's not as technical as Paulo Costa, if that makes sense. So I think that's a fight that he could potentially win. I thought Bruno Ferreira was in the top 15. I mean, I guess he might not be, but yeah, I could have swore he was like maybe 13 or 14, but I was going to say, maybe if by the time they fight, if Bruno Ferreira all of a sudden ends up with a 15 next to his name, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think, for Paulo Costa, I just think he needs maybe 1 or 2 more wins. And with the way that he could potentially sell the fight with Chimaev, I wouldn't be surprised if Chimaev was to try to, push for that if he's able to get by in his next fight. So, yeah, I'd like to say that fight is going to happen, even though it's Paulo Costa and we know anything's possible.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We also have Caio Borralho versus Ranier de Ritter. Same card. What's your thoughts on that one?
Now, that's a good fight. And I think that's a well-made, a well-matched fight. Wow, if I can finally get that out, just trying to get that out here. Caio Borralho, I do think that, he's definitely got the skills to get it done, but will he succumb to the pressure? I do think that he's got the grappling to kind of counter Ranier de Ritter, but, Ranier de Ritter is just super relentless, but if he matches someone who can match that grappling with him like Brendan Allen's going to, are we going to see a little bit more of that, I'm not going to say quitter attitude, but yeah, he just gasses out and he's like, actually, I just can't do it anymore. I'm tired, man. And I can't blame him because he fights with a ferocious style. But I think Caio Borralho could potentially get him to that point, man.
That's fair. Let's see. Manel is, yeah, that's true. Manel's for sure less reliable to show up. Like if he gets a title shot, Albazi versus Kyoji Horiguchi, Anthony versus Sean. Yeah, that'll be in Houston. The Anthony versus Sean. So I'll be heading over to that one. We got CYSA welcoming me to San Antonio. Yeah, keep into the Riverwalk actually the two times that we've been here before we moved here. So I haven't been since I've lived here yet. Anthony Paul versus that's Friday, man. Feels like an inside's 4 rounds. Fair enough. Nice fight. And then Anderson Silva's boxing Tyron Woodley on the Paul versus Joshua card. What are we doing here? I think Coyote takes this easy money. That's fair. That's fair. So, I don't know where I seen that.
Are you gonna watch the Jake Paul Anthony Joshua fight?
Yeah, I'll pay $0 for it and just check it out.
It'll be on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Nah, I don't have Netflix. I don't got Netflix. Nope. Gonna stream football and the Jake Paul fight.
Damn right.
Because I ain't got Netflix, brother. All right, here we go. We got Renato Moicano versus T-City, Brian Ortega. This happened at lightweight, man. So T-City finally moving up. Also, March 7th. What's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, interesting fight. T-City kept saying that he was going to make the move up to 155, but, and a lot of people, including myself, was like, man, you're moving up to 155. You don't need to move up to 155. And, all of a sudden he comes in that last fight against Aljo and severely misses weight and looks like death when he finally gets there. Yeah, I can understand why he wanted to make the move up. And, this fight, even though, he has beaten Moicano before, because this is a rematch. Moicano was giving him the business before, before Ortega was able to secure that guillotine and get the submission. So I'm curious to see, this time around, both of them much more later in their career, what the second time around looks like.
Yeah, man, I agree. I agree.
Both were at 145 last time, and now this is 155. Yeah. That's another interesting twist.
Yeah, that's when fucking T-City just used to get the shit beat out of him and then fucking pull out the fucking Cumberland like fucking sub in every single fight. Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know where I've seen it at, D-Rose, but I don't think it's here. So I guess we'll go Kevin Holland versus Jeff Neal. That's going to be in Houston. So looks like another Kevin Holland fight. I will be attending, man. This is probably going to go to decision, though,
huh? Yeah. I'd have to say, I could see, both being a little bit gun shy. Because has Kevin Holland fought since the D-Rod fight?
Yeah, he fought one time after that.
Who did he fight afterwards?
Let's see.
Mickey Gall?
Nah.
No, I don't know why I thought he fought.
He fought one time after the freaking Gunnar Nelson, and then he fought D-Rod, and then fought one other guy because we're like, guys, it's a little bit fucking short notice. You're gonna be fucking coming back already. He fought Mike Malott and lost by decision.
Why do I always call Mike Malott Mickey Gall? I swear to God, I do that every single time, and I don't know why.
I don't know.
I don't understand. I know Mike Malott knocked out Mickey Gall. I have no idea why I call him Mickey Gall. I do it every single time. But yes, that's who it was that he fought. And that fight was very not the most entertaining.
Yeah.
So I don't know with Kevin Holland what type of mind frame he's going to be in. And this is a rematch from the regional scene. Kevin Holland actually, I believe he KO'd Jeff Neal in the fight in the regional scene as well, if I'm not mistaken. So this would be a interesting fight, but I could see it being a little bit slower.
Yeah, it's fair, man. It's fair. Wow, my computer is not doing anything now. Sick. There we go. All right. Well, I'm not going to click anything else, D-Rose. Oh, now it's just going crazy. It's just clicking shit. Oh man, we gotta fucking figure this shit out real quick. All right. Oh no, it's just clicking all of them. Okay, fair. All right. What's up, man? How you doing? All right. So with that being said, D-Rose, the last one that I saw, I don't know if it's true or not. I saw Israel Adesanya coming back to fight Michael Venom Page. I can't find the little post now, but I saw it earlier. You think they're going to fight?
That's not going to happen. They're too good of friends. They had the same management team. Izzy and MVP have said it before. Unless they're, coughing up millions for them to fight one another, and I highly doubt with Izzy being on a 3-fight losing streak. Not to say that they ain't paying them well, but they're not going to be putting up a bunch of millions for guys who could potentially retire in their next fight. I wouldn't be surprised if Izzy was to call it quits, and where I think MVP's got a little bit more time, and MVP has noted that he wants to go back down to 170 as well. So, yeah, I think, I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, I don't know. But hey, if you guys like, if I can see a headline in the next few fucking weeks, you heard it here first. So, with that being said,
what do you think about real quick? Just because it was a big topic and we kind of discussed it the other day. Ilia Topuria with his situation going on.
Is what
not necessarily get into the personal issue, but just in terms of what it means for the whole division.
I'm pretty sure they're going to just make it Patty versus fucking Justin for the vacant lightweight championship, and they're just going to rock with it like that, dude. I don't really think they're going to look too much into it.
Yeah. Well, and I guess my big thing too is, because I was pretty fired up about this topic the other day, was, just for me, for everybody that was, forced to vacate, moving up divisions, or, Jamal Hill and, Yuri Prochazka both sustaining injuries, and, the UFC, hey, you should vacate, but we'll give you a title shot on the other end when you're good. Why can't the same thing just be told to Ilia Topuria? And that I know they want to have a champion in waiting on the other side.
I think he's done, dude. I think he's done at lightweight. If we see him again, it'll be trying to fight at 170 and against Islam. I think if we see him again, it'll be probably doing some shit like that. If not, I don't think we see him again, dude.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I would not be surprised. I would certainly hope that he would not want to come back at welterweight, because because at a certain point, because
he's gonna leave, do some steroids, get knee surgery, come back 6'2" at welterweight.
I'm getting a little Conor McGregor vibes here, though, of like when McGregor had the lightweight title, and then they had Tony fight for the interim title, and then they had, Habib and Tony fighting for the interim title, and everybody was fighting for these interim titles. Jose Aldo with Frankie Edgar fought for an interim title while McGregor, stepped away from the sport and was basically doing whatever he wanted. And I'm not saying that Ilia Topuria is going, he's obviously not getting out here and getting in the parties and stuff like that. He's trying to go out here and legally fight for his name, to make sure that his name is clear of all this stuff that's getting put out there. But I just think in terms of the UFC division right now, all these other champions were forced to vacate. Ilia Topuria can be granted the same opportunity that everybody else is granted once he's ready to get through his situation. Because if it's going to be a legal process, there's legal processes that take years for a lot of this stuff to figure out, especially when it comes to the abuse and stuff that he's accused of. Child support, all these other things. He's talking about extortion and all this stuff. Dude, this could take so long. There's no need for an interim title shot. Go ahead and slap the vacant title shot on it.
I agree. I agree, man. Antoine said there's a lot of money in the Patty fight with the beef. I think if he fights at lightweight again, it'll be against Patty. I don't think he's going to fight Justin. All right, man. Let's get into it.
He made a comment as well, real quick. I saw a headline, and it was from that interview where he made these comments as well. He said if Justin wins, they have different plans for Justin. So that lets me know that, Ilia Topuria doesn't seem too interested in fighting Justin Gaethje, just in my opinion.
Not too surprising, dude. Not too surprising. Let's get into the end of year awards, man. So what we're going to do is just run through it. I guess how we have Hell, I have it pulled up here. We'll start off with your best event of the year. So can be a fight night, can be a pay-per-view, probably going to be a pay-per-view. But I'll go ahead and start. Mine's going to be UFC 320. I watched this at your house with you, man. It was Alex Pereira versus Uncle IF2. We also had Yuri versus Roundtree on that same card when I went absolutely nuts at Yuri coming back and cooking Khalil Roundtree. I think it's just the environment, watching it with the boys, people there. That makes UFC 320 my favorite event for the year. How about you, D-Rez?
Yeah, no, that's a good one. And I actually wish I had thought about that one. I didn't necessarily think about it. And for me, honestly, I actually just went back to the last two pay-per-view cards, and that was the UFC 322 at MSG and UFC 323, because I thought me personally, I thought both cards brought it. Both co-main and main events. You can say the one at MSG, was it a little bit slower? Sure, but just in terms of the other fights on the card, for me, it's UFC 322. And the main event, Islam versus JDM. It wasn't the most exciting fight, but it was such a dominant performance for Islam to secure double champ status. We had the women's super fight, which of course, I predicted this fight to be a dud. I knew this fight was going to be a dud, but that was a women's super fight that we had. Then we had the Michael Morales KO of Sean Brady, Carlos Prates KO of Leon Edwards, the Benoit Saint Denis KO of Benny D. Here I am doing that again. We had the head kick from Bo Nickel against Adolfo Vieira. Aaron Blanchfield sub Tracy Cortez. And we had Ethan Ewing make his debut against Malcolm Wellmaker and put on a really fun fight. So, I thought for me, for all those performances, I thought UFC 322 was card of the year.
That's fair, man. That's fair. Moving on down. Who is your, I believe it's going to be fighter of the year? It wouldn't surprise me if we had the same fighter of the year here. I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah, I'm going to go fighter of the year here for me. The guy, he didn't lose. And I think that's the ultimate underlier for me. So I was ultimately going between Josh Van and Merab Dvalishvili. Merab, unfortunately, had that last stumble there at the end. And although Josh Van did win the title in unceremonious fashion, he was still able to end the year undefeated on a 4-fight win streak. And of course, did he beat Pantoja the way he could have, or I guess the way that he wanted to have. He wanted to actually go in there and beat him, but he ended up coming out with a title. Plus, he had what a lot of people believe could be fight of the year against Brandon Royval. And then he had the finish against Bruno Silva as well. So, he, Cody Durden fight was a beginning of the year as well. So, he just came in there, took the UFC by storm, put that Charles Johnson loss behind him like it's been nothing. And, to me, sometimes I actually forget about the Charles Johnson fight just with the way Josh Van has just been able to put it together ever since. And I think him going 4-0 this year makes Josh Van, for me, the fighter of the year.
That's fair, dude. Mine, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on. It's pretty self-explanatory. Looking at the Tapology rankings right now, he's ranked number 3 for fighter of the year, but the only fighter to step up to another division and win, and that's Islam, man. Like, he secured double champ status this year at, I believe, your favorite pay-per-view, UFC 322, when he defeated Jack. It wasn't entertaining at all, but, Islam just being able to go up through the ranks, dude, it's impressive, and that's why he is my fighter of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it makes sense, dude. Double champ, and dude did it in dominant fashion, and he looked way bigger than JDM in the process as well. So yeah, that's not a bad pick at all.
Yeah. So we'll move on down to our fight of the year. Most fun, the fight that you enjoyed. I have 2 here, man. I told you which one I was going to say, but that's going to be my honorable mention because no one probably watched that fight because no one knows who Ibo Aslan versus Iwo Baranowski is. No one knows these people. But if you don't know this fight, go back and watch that fight. It was 2 weeks ago, dude? Probably best round of the last 10 years for sure. But if I have to go on to the fight as a whole, I have to go on back to my guy, Yuri Prochazka, over Khalil Roundtree, overcoming, the little bit of a beating that he was absorbing in the first round, turns it on in round 2, turns up the pressure, starts hitting his chest. Let's go for that. And round 3 just came out there and cooked Khalil Roundtree to the fucking bone. Round 3 knockout, Yuri Prochazka. Man, I love Yuri. Dude, hands down. Dude, my favorite fighter. How can Yuri not be my favorite fighter, dude? Just so fun to watch. So that was my fight of the year. How about you, man?
I mean, you can make the argument the guy's the most entertaining guy in the sport, pound for pound, like
in and out of the cage. Like, you don't have to be in the cage. You're like, this dude's punching trees and you're watching it.
Yeah, exactly. He's just, and it's when he finally commits to because you can tell that Yuri's trying to wire himself to become a smarter fighter, but it's like all of a sudden you see him flip that switch to go back into the madman mode. And that's when it's just like, that's when that fun, he just turns that cap and just opens that thing and lets it loose. And yeah, it's super fun to watch. But for me, man, I'm not gonna lie, I need 2 honorable mentions here, just because 2 of these fights happened in the same night. One fight, Chris Duncan versus Mateusz Rebecki. I mean, shout out to that fight because it was in the Apex. Not a lot of people probably remember that fight, but dude, they went tongs and hammers after one another, just absolutely just banging and clanging, just going to war. Both of them were sliced up, dude. Rebecki had the big old slice down, across his head and across his eyebrows and stuff. And Chris Duncan, I think both of his eyes were shut at the end of the fight. So honorable mention, shout out to them. And both two are some of my favorite guys. Shout out to Esteban Ribovic and Elvis Brenner. That fight was on the same night as that Rebecki and Chris Duncan fight. They also went hammering nails with one another, just going back and forth, just slugfesting it out. I mean, I thought Ribovic won all 3 rounds, but I did think that Elvis Brenner, he always makes a good account for himself. Dude's such a dog. He's so tough. And shout out to those 2 fights. But for me, my fight of the year has to be Josh Van versus Brandon Royval. I just think the circumstances behind it, with Josh Van taking the fight on 3 weeks' notice and Brandon Royval, potentially working his way back to a title shot with, Manel Kopp, fell out of that fight. Josh Van came in and, I thought that Josh Van was biting off a little more than he can chew. I wasn't going to lie, but as soon as that fight played out, dude, they just went after it, and Brandon Royval, of course, with his crazy style makes it so fun. And Josh Van being the counter puncher he is, it was just a perfect clash for what both guys ended up throwing. I think both guys landed well over 250 strikes against one another. So, dude, it was just crazy the pace they put on. So for me, the fight of the year is Josh Van versus Brandon Royval.
That's fair, man. Moving on. Move on down to one that, it's been so long now. Probably a lot of people may have forgot that this fight happened this year. But my knockout of the year is going to be Mauricio Hufi with the spinning heel kick over Bobby King Green. It was back in March of this year, UFC 313, when Mauricio Hufi just basically looked at his corner, pointed at someone, and was like, "Watch this," and then did a little turn, and then up comes the leg, and then just killed Bobby King Green, dude. What's your thoughts on my knockout of the year, and then what's your knockout of the year, man?
It was probably your knockout of the year just because you were happy to see Bobby Green get flatlined. That was probably
I love watching, dude. My favorite Bobby Green fights is probably like the Drew Dober fight, the Jalen Turner fight, and then this one. just murdered in every fight, like taking years to get off his life.
Yeah, I figured you were pretty fired up for that result. But and there were, honestly, going back, there were a bunch of like nasty KOs. So we could have went
2 on the same night: Carlos Prates and Neal, and then Pico and like Lerone Murphy, were both like UFC 319. may have been back-to-back fights, dude. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I believe they were. And that one is actually my knockout of the year is Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico. For me, I think circumstances plus just the absolute car crash that was of a spinning back elbow. So Lerone Murphy takes a fight. What is it? 3 weeks notice. Pico's supposed to be coming in. He's been
Against
preparing for a fight
Evloev.
for a little bit. Yeah, he was supposed to fight Evloev. He's been preparing for a fight. The UFC has a hot prospect coming in, and they're wanting to give him a one of the top guys so he could basically come in and shoot his way towards the title shot. And Lerone Murphy, no guts, no glory, was willing to take that shot on 3 weeks' notice against a guy who was stylistically a bad matchup for Lerone Murphy and Aaron Pico. And for Lerone Murphy to go in there to time that spinning elbow the way he did, to see Pico trying to step off the side so he could potentially go for a single leg, and to time that spinning elbow, and it was the impact because it was like Lerone Murphy didn't spin through with the elbow. Like when Carlos Prates landed, like it kind of just like skidded off the top of Jeff Neal's head, where like Pico could not have eaten that elbow any more flush. Like it was just, but like Lerone Murphy could not finish his spin because that's how hard Pico took the brunt of that elbow from that spin. So impact, circumstances, everything included. I think Lerone Murphy's elbow over Aaron Pico is for me the KO of the year.
Yeah, I don't hate it, man. I don't hate it. But for me, it's just because he was a Bellator fighter coming in first fight, dude. I don't know if I'm not impressed as much as I should be. But it's still a sick knockout. But
that's why I tried to lay the background for the Lerone Murphy having the 3 weeks notice, because I'm not necessarily saying like Pico's not chinny, but Lerone Murphy taking a bad stylistic matchup against a wrestler boxer type on 3 weeks notice, and to do that, that's super impressive.
Yeah, that's fair, man. So the only one we have left is submission of the year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one was tough for me because there were it's like not one really like stood out as like, oh, that was the best one this year. So for me, I had to go back, dig a little bit. Which one was the most impressive to me? Looking back on it now, not too impressive, but at the time he had never been finished. And that's why I'm going Sean Brady submitting Leon Edwards, dude, with basically a one-arm guillotine as well. Now we know Leon's cooked, but I think we saw that in the Colby Covington fight. Like, oh, what is he doing? Like, what the fuck is happening? Like, neither fighter did shit in that entire fight, dude. And it's like, from that point on, we should have saw the downhill from Leon Edwards, and then he got beat by Bilal, bonked on his head, and now he's just in there changing stances. That's all Leon Edwards does. Just in there, jab, leg kick, and change stance, and then try to move, dude. And that, dude, not a good style. Not a good style for this upcoming welterweight. So for me, Sean Brady submitting Leon Edwards is my submission of the year. Pass it to you, D-Rose. What's yours, man?
Yeah, I mean there were a couple of them, and shout out. I'll say just a quick honorable mention. That Joan Silva and Bryce Mitchell, that ninja choke, the way he was able to lock that in, and on Bryce Mitchell, who's a super tough dude, and doesn't really get caught and stuff like that. Yeah, that was super nasty for Joan Silva, but I think for me, it wasn't like just the impressiveness of the submission as was the domination in the fight that led up to the submission. And for me, it's Charles Oliveira versus Mateusz Gamrot, because for me, Mateusz Gamrot did take the fight on short notice, but let's not forget, Charles Oliveira got put to sleep, no Ambien, by Ilia Topuria, 3 months before that fight against Mateusz Gamrot, and a bunch of people were saying, hey, Charles Oliveira shouldn't be coming back that quick. He's coming back too soon. He's going to get hurt, yada, yada. I even picked Mateusz Gamrot going into that fight just because I thought that Charles Oliveira was going to try to play off his back too much. And Mateusz Gamrot was just trying to keep it safe. Not that I thought Mateusz Gamrot would hurt him, but, dude, that fight was not close from the jump. Like, as soon as that fight started, Charles Oliveira just completely put it on him. And for Mateusz Gamrot, we know how tough that dude is. a guy who has
Mhm.
never been finished, and for Charles Oliveira to dismantle him the way that he did. And I think that kind of signified that Du Bronx is back, and just as impressive as that fight was, and to end it with a submission, that's why for me, Charles Oliveira versus Gamrot is my submission of the year.
That's fair, dude. That's fair. Antoine wants to know who's a bigger disappointment this year. Mick, oh man. Patchy Mick, oh man.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Yeah, it's
Oh, yeah.
1,000. Not even,
Which one's it?
not even close. Because like you could say Buchecha, but like just as far as like he wasn't that highly regarded, because at least like Patrick Mix finished a guy who was beating Peter Yan. So like that's not anything to just brush over. Magomedov. He's a pretty good fighter, and like Patchy Mix smoked him in Bellator, and he beat him by unanimous decision in the second fight. So he has beaten solid guys, and for him to just come over to the UFC and not look like he knows what he's doing at all. Yeah, I mean it's literally a complete 180 of the guy, to the point where it's making me question whether he was doing some type of substances when he was in Bellator before he came to the UFC, because that's the only way I can explain the way he was dominating dudes in Bellator, like the way that he was doing, and to be the guy that he is now, just completely weird, man.
Yeah, I have no clue, because I wasn't the biggest Bellator watcher to begin with. But I heard stories about how he was the best bantamweight in the world, dude. When he came over, I was like, we'll see when we pick Mario Bautista in this fight. I was just laughing the whole time, like, this dude is ass. And then in the second fight against whoever he fought, I was like, all right, time for a get right fight for him. They're going to sign someone out of the UFC now. And he came in there and just got fucking wrestled all 3 rounds in that fight too, dude. It's like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, by a newcomer in the UFC. And I know I know the dude he fought was also tough. He was like a rising champ, right? So I mean, I know like it's not like a slouch that he fought, but yeah, Patchy Mix should have very, very disappointing. And yeah, I don't think I could choose another fighter who's been more disappointing than Patchy Mix this year.
That's fair, man. That's fair. So with that being said, is there anything else you would like to talk about? Any other awards? Anything like that? What are you looking forward to next year? I'm for sure looking forward to the first card of the year, because I'm flying back and hanging out with old D Rose in his basement. So that's something to look forward to. First card of the year. Not only will you have a podcast that week, not only will you have Change of Cheddar that week, you'll have a fight companion on fight night as well. So first card of the year, me and D Rose will be back.
And main card starts at 9 p.m. Let's go.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Right. So that's what's going to be
about.
Yeah. So me and D Rose will be back in roughly 5 or so weeks to answer Antoine's question. Champ predictions for next year. That's what we say for the first card of the year, Antoine. So me and D Rose will let you know who we think will be champs next year on the first card of the first podcast of the year. But until then, man,
would you want to do that podcast the week before?
Nah, we can just do it that week. We can just do it that week, because it's not like we have anything to fucking recap or anything. So we can just do who we think's gonna be champions that year, and then just go on into news for that week, and then fucking fight picks. So we just do it like that.
All right. Go.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. Who will be champion? That's a tough one.
That's what we're gonna come back with next year for you, Antoine.
Yeah. There we go.
That's gonna be some of the heat that we're gonna be bringing y'all. Y'all be ready for these hot predictions.
So with that being said, we appreciate y'all for watching us all year long. This is episode 188 of these D-Rays. We've been doing this shit for a fucking minute. So shout out y'all for, all 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of y'all that come back here weekly basis to watch your boys. If y'all don't mind, hit that thumbs up button. Leave us a comment down there. Let us know your awards of the year. Let us know which fights you like the most. And then me and D Rose will see you back here midway through January next year. We hope you all have a very Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. Y'all stay safe. Y'all ain't betting on fights, losing all your money. and you can save up some money, and we'll come back strong. First card of 2024. D-Rose arms are getting tired, so I'm gonna go ahead and peace us out. My name is Matt. D-Rose on that side of the screen. We appreciate y'all for watching us all year. Hit that thumbs up button. Y'all have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll catch y'all next year. Peace.